Were you expecting someone else?
Yeah, so Gex is back. LimitedRunGames.com, who are best known for making physical editions of modern classic games, cult classic games, just like classic, the whole spectrum of classic games. Limited Run Games is known for making really, really great, high-quality physical collector's editions of games that they're like plucking from obscurity, or, you know, just like great indie games that like would never get a physical release. They're just like a wonderful, wonderful place. I am really in favor of Limited Run Games. They had a showcase the other day where they revealed a bunch of stuff that they have coming on the horizon. And a lot of it is like stuff that you can go out and get digitally already. You know, games like Chicory, like one of the best indie games in the past couple of years, getting a physical release via Limited Run Games. Very cool. The Castlevania Advanced Collection is also getting a physical release soon, thanks to Limited Run. There's like just a lot of stuff that they revealed. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. You should watch it. There's like a lot of stuff in there. Games I've never even heard of. Old classic games I've never even heard of that seem to be like formative entries in just like the landscape of how we got to where we're at now as like an industry. But I think the one reveal that really took the internet by storm, rightfully, is the return of GEX. The GEX trilogy is coming back. It's getting re-released for all modern consoles. So that's like Switch, PC, Xbox, PlayStation. It's wild. And I'm a little bit of... I'm a little bit of two minds about it, because here's the thing. Limited Run Games, for game preservation, an amazing company. Like, I'm so glad they're doing what they're doing. Again, there were some games in that showcase that, like, I'd never heard of. I think we're, like, totally lost to time, and I'm so glad they're bringing back. Very cool. And I do feel the same way about GEX. GEX is, you know, for better or for worse, a cultural icon of video games, right? You go on the YouTube channel for Crystal Dynamics right now, and GEX is in their YouTube banner. Like, GEX is a guy that people care about. And I played GEX. I played Enter the Gecko specifically. I have a real memory of Enter the Gecko. Specifically, my dad went on a work trip, and I remember he took me with him, and in the hotel they had, I think, an N64. No, I don't think it was an N64. I think it was a PS1. And you could rent games the same way you could rent movies in the hotel. I don't remember how that worked. But anyway, I remember him letting me play GEX Enter the Gecko. And I played that game a lot. And if you didn't play GEX a lot in that era, I can understand why you would think that the return of GEX isn't that exciting. For me, though, and for probably everybody else who was around then, there was this feeling, I don't know why, but there was this feeling that GEX was going to be like one of the big ones. Like he was going to be a Mario. People thought GEX was going to be a Mario. When I was a kid, I thought GEX was going to be a Mario. Like, GEX 3 came out, and I remember being like, oh my God, they made another one. And then they just didn't make any more. Goodbye to GEX. GEX was just gone. They all leave us eventually, I suppose. It's the nature of life, is death. But I'll be honest, I have not had the strong desire to go back and play GEX again since that era. And I also don't know if I'll play GEX when it comes out again on the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if that's a thing I want to do, but I'm glad that it's happening. Again, for the sake of game preservation, I'm glad that GEX is returning. I will never say no to a company like Limited Run Games being like, we want to preserve this thing. Because there's a world in which some kid out there with a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or a PlayStation or even a personal computer plays GEX and has a great time still in 2023. Some kid's going to play that and have a great time and be like, wow, I love GEX. And maybe they grow up and they buy the rights to GEX from Crystal Dynamics or whoever owns them these days, and they make a new GEX. And you know what? I would play a new GEX. When that kid grows up and makes GEX 4 from Russia with GEX, I will play it. But do I feel the need to play the trilogy again? I don't know. I don't know if I do. Still cool that it's happening. LimitedRunGames.com did not sponsor this episode, but they did sponsor my heart, because game preservation is very important to me. So I'm glad that they exist, and I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing. Shout out to them for bringing GEX back. Also, they announced a collection of Jurassic Park games that I really liked as a kid. That I will play on the Nintendo Switch. Thank you in advance. Up next, did you remember there was a Borderlands movie? That's right. Borderlands, the video game series, trilogy with spin-offs, is getting a movie that was announced in 2015. It's been so long since they announced the Borderlands movie. It has, like, real people in it. Jack Black is playing Claptrap. Kate Blanchett is Lilith in that movie. Kevin Hart is playing Roland. Like, they like, cast this movie like they want it to be good. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. This is like a real legitimate production. But again, they announced it in 2015. It's been in the works for so long. It's been 8 years, if you can do the very simple math. But reportedly, it's been going through reshoots, and one of the writers just removed his name from the movie. Specifically, Craig Mazin, who is one of the creators and writers of the Last of Us television show for HBO, which just got nominated for like 400 Emmys, doesn't want to be associated with the Borderlands movie, which does not fare well for the Borderlands movie. Are they going to try and replicate the cel-shaded energy of the original Borderlands? Because it is a retelling of the first Borderlands story, at least based on the characters that we have listed. I'm sure it's like loosely connected to that first Borderlands game, which again has like a pretty streamlined plot, which I think is good, especially in the era. Like, I'm replaying all the Uncharted games right now. I just saw the new Indiana Jones. I just rewatched National Treasure, and the plot of Borderlands is like, hey, there's this big mystical magical vault filled with untold treasure in it, and people come from all over the universe to try and find it. That's a cool plot. You know, only show up on this planet, Pandora, if you're like ready to die or you think you're going to be the one who's going to find that treasure. That's a cool idea for anything. Legitimately, I think it's great. And that first game is pretty good, and the characters are like fun. You know, I personally, by the time the third one came out, I was like, I think I'm done with this. I think I'm tired of this like vibe. I did not play the third one. I think I will eventually. I'm sure it'll get added to Game Pass one day, and when it does, I will play it and probably have a pretty good time with it. Borderlands 2, I think to this day, is my most played game on Steam. Either way, I have no idea when this Borderlands movie is coming out. They finished shooting it in 2021, as far as we know. So it's been years of post-production. And to have a writer who just got nominated for a bunch of Emmys remove his name from the movie, be like, do not associate me with this, do not put me in the credits, this late in the game, does not bode well. So I'll be interested to see when it comes out. Maybe it'll be a travesty. Maybe it'll be a fun travesty. Honestly, maybe it gets reviewed terribly, but is like a fun time in theaters. And, you know, I'll be there. I'll be there no matter what. I have a subscription to the movies. I will see it. I will see the Borderlands movie. And if you don't want to see it, come back to Wavelengths. I'm sure I'll talk about it on here. Last thing I wanted to shout out was this story that I saw on videogameschronicle.com that says that Square Enix is considering remastering a bunch of old titles from their catalog, specifically based on the reception to the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. This came from what is now becoming a trend, which I think is funny, of people like gamers specifically showing up to shareholder meetings and asking questions about specific games that they want. I think like famously a couple of weeks ago, there was somebody who bought enough shares of Nintendo stock to show up and ask why there wasn't more Splatoon 3 DLC, which is hilarious. And also, why not? Actually, hang on. Look, if that's going to be the way the system works, you have to have enough money to ask Nintendo a question straight up, then like, I'm glad that somebody out there is like abusing that system and holding their feet to the fire. You know, I wish it was something a little bit more exciting than is there going to be more Splatoon 3 DLC? But anyway, this also happened at the Square Enix shareholder conference where somebody said like, hey, the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters have been doing super well. I want to see Xenogears. Are you going to do it to Xenogears too? And they were like, look, we're not gonna comment on any like specific games that we're working on. But we're like open to doing that, and we'll continue to do that to other franchises and other video games, which I think is exciting. So I want to know from you what you want to see redone. I don't need pixel remaster level stuff. I just want to see those Dragon Quest ports that were on the DS make it to the Switch. Like, that's really it. We recently learned that Dragon Quest has sold exactly half as many copies as Final Fantasy, like franchise-wide, which is still a lot of copies, just to be clear. It's still a lot. But I think a big part of that is, like, every Final Fantasy game is available on every platform right now. And most Dragon Quest games are not available at all, legally, to play. You can play 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch right now, and 11... and then everything else is like you'd have to probably buy used. So give me Dragon Quest. But what do you want? Anyway, that's going to be it for today because I have to go to Washington, D.C. So I'm going to go do that. But I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend, a wonderful week. And I'll catch you later. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. My name is Brendan Bigley. This has been Wavelengths, a show about video game news. I'll talk to you later. Bye.